What's up, everybody? I hope everybody's doing awesome. I'm glad you guys are sticking with me. This is great. We're going to talk about temptation today. We touched on it a little bit yesterday, but here we go. Day 7, temptation. 1 Corinthians 10:13. No temptation is overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. James 1:13-18 tells us that temptation is not from God. Now, temptation, it's not when you're tempted is when you sin. When you give in to that temptation is when you sin. You know, when you're like, oh man, my wife's not home, computer's up. That's not the sin. When you go get on the computer and then look at what you're not supposed to be looking at, that's when you sin. When you go in traffic and you're like, man, that person just cut me off, I really want to, but then you let them, bleeping words out, that's when you sin. So temptation is not you sinning. Giving into that temptation is sin. Jesus Christ himself was even tempted, but he had the strength and the courage to not give in to those temptations. And it's easy to give into those temptations. It really is. It's easy when you're upset. Like for me, like I talked about earlier, the alcohol. It was easy for me to go grab a beer or grab a strong drink or grab something to cleanse my thoughts away from that. Now, me thinking about going and grabbing a beer wasn't a sin. But me going and grabbing a beer was a sin. Temptation studies you. It's like a fight. Temptation is like a fight. The enemy studies you. It's like Rocky. You see everybody's seen the Rocky movies. Rocky studied Apollo. He studied all of his opponents. He watched them. He did stuff. It's the same thing with the enemy. You guys study each other. Boxers study each other. They study their moves. They study power. They study speed. They study strengths and weaknesses. That's what the enemy does to you. He studies you. He finds out your weakness. He finds out what you give into. And he goes off of that. So you in turn have to study, and you have to stay strong, and you have to not give in to those temptations. Keep your eyes on the prize. Keep your eyes on that championship belt. Fight every day. Try not to give in. If you give in, it's okay. Say, God, I'm sorry. But don't get to a point to where you give in on purpose just because, and then you go back and say, hey, God, I'm sorry. If you continue to do it, you have to give it up completely. You have to try to give it up completely. That's what God wants you to do. He doesn't want you to go back and say, hey, God, I'm sorry. Go back Monday and do it again. Hey, God, I'm sorry. Go back and do it again. Hey, God, I'm sorry. Go back and do it again. That's not what he wants. He wants you to say, hey, God, I'm sorry, and truly hold on to him and say, God, I want to live for you. I don't want to do this anymore. Please help me get past this. So study, fight, and don't let your temptations overtake you.